Now hear the word of the Lord from Leviticus 19, 1 through 18. The Lord also said to Moses, "Give the following instructions to the entire community of Israel. You must be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. Each of you must show respect for your mother and father, and you must always observe my Sabbath days of rest. I am the Lord your God. Do not put your trust in idols or make metal images of gods for yourselves. I am the Lord your God. When you sacrifice a peace offering to the Lord, offer it properly so you will be accepted by God. The sacrifice must be eaten on the same day you offer it or on the next day. Whatever is left over until the third day must be completely burned up. If any of the sacrifice is eaten on the third day, it will be contaminated, and I will not accept it. Anyone who eats it on the third day will be punished for defiling what is holy to the Lord and will be cut off from the community. When you harvest the crops of your land, do not harvest the grain along the edges of your fields, and do not pick up what the harvesters dropped. It is the same with your grape crop. Do not strip every last bunch of grapes from the vines, and do not pick up the grapes that fall to the ground. Leave them for the poor and the foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. Do not steal. Do not deceive or cheat one another. Do not bring shame on the name of your God by using it to swear falsely. I am the Lord. Do not defraud or rob your neighbor. Do not make your hired workers wait until the next day to receive their pay. Do not insult the deaf or cause the blind to stumble. You must fear your God. I am the Lord. Do not twist justice in legal matters by favoring the poor or being partial to the rich and powerful. Always judge people fairly. Do not spread slanderous gossip among your people. Do not stand idly by when your neighbor's life is threatened. I am the Lord. Do not nurse hatred in your heart for any of your relatives. Confront people directly so you will not be held guilty for their sin. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against a fellow Israelite, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. This is the word of the Lord.
You may be seated. Well, good morning, Sojourn. Peace be with you. Good to see you guys. Welcome. It's raining outside. Haven't seen that in a while. Cool. So for those of you who are wet, well, I'll make it quick. If you're visiting with us, my name's Jonah. I'm one of the pastors here. Just really thankful that you're here. Our mission is to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ, build one another up as his church, and send each other to follow him. So thanks for coming and being a part of that. A few things worthy of celebration this morning. One, last night I was at Sojourn Midtown, which is in the Shelby Park area of Louisville, celebrating Sojourn's 25th anniversary. So anybody here from the 930 days? Anybody left over? Oh, wow, there you are. So 25 years. Sojourn Midtown is the church that planted us, and it was just a sweet night celebrating God's faithfulness. So my heart's full, both with the joys and the sorrows of 25 years together. And so, if you've been here for a while, thanks for being a part of it. It was a really sweet night. You may notice as you wander around, Pastor Stephen is back from sabbatical. So we're thankful for Stephen. Love him. He got that glow about him, that Shekinah. That's an Old Testament joke. So thankful that he's back. I'm a little bit nervous about this. I'm excited about it because it represents 3 years of struggle for me. But I know how you people feel about change sometimes. And so there's a change that's coming in a few minutes, and I just want us to take a moment to emotionally prepare. Y'all remember those plastic giving buckets? You know that if you've been coming here? I've been fighting to end the plastic giving buckets for, I don't know, years. Mostly because they're ugly. Amen? Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. So this morning, not only do we have new, beautiful wicker baskets, we also are having a new system for how we distribute them. So brace yourselves, okay? Here's what we're going to do. In a few minutes, the baskets are going to start on the edges, and then they're going to pass to the sides. And when you get it at the end, we're not crossing the aisles anymore. You just hand it to the person behind you. With me? The snake technique is what it's called technically. So there's 2 baskets total rather than 37 awful broken plastic buckets. And so if you're sitting on the end, like, you can ask an usher if you're not emotionally prepared for the exit aisle responsibility. You just got to pass it behind you, okay? And if it's terrible, we'll just try again next week, so no pressure. So that's that. And then you may notice the trunk or treat sign is up in the lobby. We're a few weeks away. The time is upon us to prepare for trunk or treat. We'll talk more about why we do it and how to do it, but it's one of our biggest parties of the year for the neighborhood. And so if you would like to decorate a trunk and pass out candy, there's a map next to the welcome table where you just take off a tab and you sign your name there, as that's the parking spot you're going to go in. So it's a big logistical support for us. It helps us plan to know who's going where and lets us know how many folks we have. So if you want to do a trunk, decorate it, do the thing, sign up, pick your spot. Well, there's still spots. They're going hot. The 9 a.m. was really excited about it. If you don't want to do a trunk, that's totally fine. There's all kinds of ways for you to help out if you still want to be a part of the event. If you're just like, hey, I'll do whatever you want, you can just fill out a Connect card or stop by the welcome table, and we'll plug you in a spot to help that be a great event. And the candy donation bin is open. So if you're like, I don't really want to go, I don't really want to help, but I'll bring some candy, you can start dropping off candy at the box. It's a box. Yeah, the donation bin. Maybe technically it's a bin. You can do that. So, and then we're starting a new sermon series on the book of Leviticus. Who's pumped? Leviticus? No one's excited. I get it. It's fine. Technically, we're just doing Leviticus 23. In this series, we're calling The God of Time. Kelly Karcher again did the artwork, and it feels just like so awesome to me. I love it. I want to put it on a floor tile somewhere or something. I just think it looks great. We kind of got to wrap our heads around Leviticus a little bit. So we're in Leviticus 19 this morning because this kind of is the center of Leviticus and tells us what the whole thing is about. We have to understand what's going on in Leviticus if we want to understand what's going on in chapter 23. And boy, let's just be honest, we don't spend a lot of time in Leviticus. It's got a bad rap, and we don't really know what to do with it for the most part. I think for our sakes, trying to get into the space, I want us to think the space of Leviticus, I suppose. I want us to think about this idea of success for a second. I hear people talk about success all the time. When I meet with folks in their 20s from our church, they're usually expressing a desire to be successful. I really want to be successful. I want to have a meaningful life. And then meeting with people in their 30s or 40s, they're wrestling with, is this successful? Am I doing enough to be successful in this thing? And then in the 50, 60, 70-year-old crowd, they're really the 60, 70-year-old crowd. They're more looking back, wondering, am I successful? Was I successful? Did I do enough? For as much as we talk about that word, at least in our American culture, and for as many of us who have that desire to be successful, I find it so curious that we really struggle to define it. We're not really sure what it means to be successful, but we have a desire to be successful. So a couple of ways to wrestle with the tension. How much money do you need to make in order to be considered successful? I don't think anyone really knows. What does your house need to look like for you to be considered successful? Or what would your house need to look like for you to know you're successful? Here's a tough one. How do you know if you're a successful parent? Do you measure your success as a parent with the amount of pain in your child's life? Do you measure your success as a parent with your child's income as an adult? We don't know. We don't really know how to define any of this stuff, but we know we want it. And there's a word we use to describe that feeling when there's something that we know we have to do, but we don't know what it is or how much of it to do. I'm going to say that one more time. We have a word that describes the emotion for when you know there's something you're supposed to be doing, but you don't know what it is and you don't know how much to do. We call that emotion anxiety. fear, uncertainty. So here's some of the tension that we live in. If you're here and you live in the United States, so I'm assuming like you're not visiting from wherever, not the United States. If you're here and you call the United States your home, you have to know this isn't a good or bad statement, this is just reality. We inhabit a culture that's driven by a desire for more and bigger and faster. Just look at the way we're marketed to. This is the best hamburger in the world. This is the world's greatest pancake. Nobody ever tries to sell you on a pretty good sandwich. You know what I mean? It's always got to be the best, and it's always got to be bigger, and it's always got to be more, and it's always got to be faster. You got to know our whole economic system is built on making sure you feel inadequate. So here's how it works. I'm going to show you guys something. I have a prop this morning. This is my caseless iPhone. I say case because I don't use cases because I'm a Christian, and it makes everybody nervous. Because what if I drop it? I don't know. People get nervous. That was a joke, and it didn't land. They don't all work. My phone's 3 years old. Does anybody know what's wrong with this phone? Nothing. That doesn't need a case, Keenan. There's nothing wrong with this phone. Some of you know how I feel about the Cincinnati Bengals, yeah? Orange is my second favorite color. First favorite color, purple. Now, you know something about me. Second favorite color, orange. My phone is totally fine. It works great. I have zero complaints about it. The battery's still fine, 3 years in. But these maniacs in Cupertino last week announced they have an orange phone now. And now all of a sudden I look at this blue phone and I'm like, this is so dumb, so lame. It doesn't really work that well, does it, And with my kids still being young and the camera, and if I had and now I'm walking around thinking, this phone stinks. And I'll tell you, once I have that orange phone, you know what they're going to do next year, right? Come up with the purple phone. We all carry I think most of us, if we're a little bit awake to our own lives, we carry a deep feeling like there's something we need to be doing. We don't know what it is. We don't know how much of it to do. And so we carry kind of a constant low-grade anxiety all the time. The specifics of this are a bit unique to our American way of life, but that fundamental tension is nothing new to being humans this side of Eden. From the very beginning, when man and woman realized we were naked, we became ashamed and we sought to cover ourselves. The fundamental movement there is reaching for something outside of us to tell us we are enough. I need to cover myself. I need to put something on this version of me so that the version you see will say, oh, you're beautiful. Oh, you're enough. You're successful. Whatever it is. We were meant to live as royalty, sons and daughters of God, confident in who we are because of whose we are. So from a place of deep love and security, we would enter into a world free to create, to love, and to be loved. I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but you were never meant to work to earn your love or earn your affirmation. Some of you know how exhausting it is because you've been trying to do that. There is no job title, amount of income, performance review that will leave you saying, I have arrived. I am enough. It was never meant to work that way. We were not meant to work for affirmation. We were meant to work from affirmation. Knowing we are loved, we will go and tend to this garden and do something beautiful. But everything has gone sideways since Genesis chapter 3. And so most of human history is marked by a scramble for validation. Am I a good enough mom? Am I a good enough employee? Am I a good enough child? Am I a good enough Christian? And we scramble and we scramble and we scramble. This world of ambiguous anxiety, what do? We don't know. How much? We don't know. How often? More. That's kind of the hallmark of human life post-Eden. This is the world into which Leviticus was written. Imagine, ancient Israel is part of a wandering tribe, and they're watching their neighbors around them. We see that Israel is often motivated by wanting to be like their neighbors. We want to do the things that they're doing. Everyone around them is scrambling to earn the approval of their God. What do we have to do? Our God has to approve of us. What should we do? We don't know. How much of it should we do? Probably a little bit more. If you don't know much about Mesopotamian religion, so ancient Mesopotamia, that's where Israel is wandering. That's where so much of the Bible takes place. And the religions of that day were just messy, bloody, aggressive affairs. This is where the sacrifices come from. This is where the violence comes from. An example of what this looks like, the scrambling for more, the ambiguous, anxious, striving for approval. You can see it in the Bible. If you go to 1 Kings chapter 18, this is total coincidence. Our students are looking at this passage this morning. There's this competition on Mount Carmel. It's one of the wildest stories in the Bible. And you see these prophets of the god Baal trying to get their God to do something for them. So what do they have to do to get Baal to respond? We're not sure. How much should we do? Probably more. How longer? Just keep going until something happens. So try to imagine what this scene looked like. This is from 1 Kings chapter 18. They prepared one of the bulls and placed it on the altar. Then they called on the name of Baal from morning until noontime, shouting, "Oh, Baal, answer us." But there was no reply of any kind. Then they danced, hobbling around the altar they had made. They shouted louder, and following their normal custom, do you see that? Their normal custom. They cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out. They raved all afternoon until the time of the evening sacrifice, but still there was no sound, no reply, no response. Do you see the intensity building as the day went on? This didn't work. Let's do some more. The praying didn't work. Let's shout. The shouting didn't work. Let's dance. The dancing didn't work. Let's march around the altar. That didn't work. Let's cut ourselves with a knife. That didn't work. Let's cut ourselves with a sword until blood is gushing out. More intense, more aggressive, more, and still silence. These cultures sacrificed their own children. They executed their neighbors and they harmed themselves. And the specifics might look different, but I don't know if it's all that different from those of us who brag about sleeping 4 hours a night, who never see our little ones, and we sacrifice our well-being and the well-being of those around us in the name of a little bit more. So into this cacophony of competing conditions, uncertain expectations, into that ambiguous, anxious pull to do more, Leviticus comes to human history like a thunderclap of clarity. We don't understand how revolutionary Leviticus was. It was absolutely unlike anything that had ever come before, because into the ambiguity of the world, God speaks plainly, directly, clearly. This is what's required of you. I will not leave it to any mystery. Do this. Be this. And at the very heart of Leviticus, you can go check this out. It's pretty wild. Leviticus is written like a big symmetrical triangle. Repeating patterns, repeating themes. And at the very center of it, this happens multiple times in Leviticus, but here in the structural and theological center of Leviticus, we get instruction, plain as day. What does God require of us? Verse 2 says, "You must be holy, because I, the Lord your God, am holy." Holiness is the command. Holiness is the clarity. But we need to get some clarity on what the clarity means, because I don't know. I think we might be a little bit confused what the Bible means when it uses the word holy. So can you leave that verse back up? Can we put the verse back up there for a second? Do you notice that God roots the command for holiness in his very nature? Why should you be holy? God says, because I am holy, and I made you in my image to be like me. So to be holy means to be like me. To be holy means be what I made you to be. This helps us see holiness is a state of being. He says, be holy. He doesn't say, do holy. See what I'm saying? Be holy. It's a status. It's a state of being, way more than it is a characteristic. He doesn't say, try to be fast because I'm fast. It's not an attribute as much as it is a status. So another way to think about it, holiness is less about what you do and more about who you are. And that who you are is rooted in who God made you to be. So the purpose of Leviticus, first, is to teach you what holiness means, to set the clear expectation of holiness. So over the next, I think we're doing this for like 10 weeks. When you hear holy over these next few weeks, I want you to hear that holiness means being human. Holiness means being human, which might be confusing to some because I doubt holy is one of the first few words you think of when you think of the word human. Most of us say things like, well, we're all human in here, you know? What do we mean when we say that? We're all kind of dumb. We all make mistakes. I'm only human, right? That's true, but that's cutting the Bible short. That's starting the Bible in Genesis chapter 3, not in Genesis chapter 1. We were made to be holy. We were made holy. But to use the language of Leviticus, where we were holy, we have now become profane. That's the language Leviticus uses, holiness versus being profane. And here's a way to think about it. Think of a glass of water that's pure and clean and good, and then you sprinkle some wet mud in it. It's not that the water is suddenly bad all of a sudden. It's that it's become mixed with something bad, and it's hard to tell where one ends and where the other begins. So to become holy is to get the mud out of the water. It's for the water to be holy means it goes back to being water again. The mud is removed. The priests in 1 Kings were trying to get the mud out of water. The striving you do is to try to get the mud out of your water. This is what so much of life is, trying to become clean, trying to become pure, trying to go back to being human. We were made, to use that example from Genesis again, you were made to be naked and unashamed, confident in being enough, able to love, to give love, and to receive love. We weren't made for fear, anxiety, shame. Sin at its core, what it does, it's fundamentally dehumanizing. When you sin, you become something less than human, and you turn somebody else into something less than human. Sin is dehumanizing. So where the world scrambles trying to recover our humanity, in comes Leviticus to say to sinful people, here's how you can be human again. If you've heard things like, well, holiness means to be set apart or to be other, think of it this way. In a culture that has been deformed and distorted by sin, if you learn to live like a human, you will look so weird to everyone else. If a group of people walked around knowing how loved they were, how strong they were, how little they had to prove, how confident and secure they were, do you know how crazy that group of people would look to the world around? Holiness means being human again. Being human is going to look radically different in a sinful world. And at the core of being human is a way of relating to God, to ourselves, and to one another. God exists in perfect community. He's fundamentally relationally oriented, and his commands are about how we relate to one another. So here at the center of Leviticus, God's restoration plan for humanity. Lisa read all of those things, and I don't know if you caught it, but they are all about relationships. And did anybody notice what God roots it in over and over? Notice how many times he said, because I am the Lord. Be like me, do this. Because I am the Lord, do this. Because I am the Lord, this is what I do. And let me just give you some examples here. It's just the incredible clarity and the plainness with which God describes how humans relate to one another. Verse 3, how should you relate to your parents? If you're 35 and haven't asked that yet, you're probably asleep at the wheel, right? Usually between 35 and 45, you got some stuff to figure out about mom and dad. Well, God says, show great respect to your mother and father, and you must always observe my Sabbath days of rest. I like that these go together. He's like, you're going to have to suck it up and be nice to mom and dad, and then you need to take a day off, right? Like, rest and recover, because I know that was tough. How should you relate to the Lord? He says, don't trust anything else. Do not put your trust in idols or make metal images of gods for yourselves. Why? What happened to the priests of Baal after they cut themselves to the point of blood gushing? Their God didn't respond, but they were harmed. This is the problem. You harm yourself when you put your trust in something other than God. He gives perfect clarity on how to sacrifice. In verse 5, he says, when you sacrifice a peace offering to the Lord, which sacrifice was the language of the day. God is entering into their world, these Mesopotamian religions, and giving clarity where everyone else had ambiguity. And he gets so specific. Did you see the part where he says, and hey, if that meat's been out for 3 days, don't eat it. It's defiled now. And you're like, well, that's weird. Is it? If you came over to my house and you're like, what's for dinner? And you're like, oh, I cooked steaks 3 or 4 days ago, and they've been sitting here on my back deck ever since then. That's what we're going to eat tonight. Why would we not do that? What happens to meat that's been sitting out for 3 or 4 days? Yeah, you would smell it before you saw it, right? And I don't know if you've ever eaten spoiled meat or spoiled food before, but it does not go well for you. Any controversy on how we're supposed to relate to the poor or the immigrant right now? That's not controversy at all. It's not uncomfortable at all, is it? Well, God tells us how we should relate to the poor and the immigrant. When you harvest the crops of your land, do not harvest the grain along the edges of your fields. Do not pick up what the harvesters drop. Leave them for the poor and the foreigners among you. How should you relate to others in your community? Don't steal. Do not deceive or cheat one another. Do not bring shame on the name of your God by using it to swear falsely. Do not defraud or rob your neighbor. Do not make your hired workers wait until the next day to receive their pay. He's saying, like, don't do something terrible to somebody and say, well, God told me to do it. Don't lie. Don't cheat. If you say you're going to do something, do something. This is so wild. How should you treat people with disabilities? Do not insult the deaf or cause the blind to stumble. Don't make fun of people that are different from you. How should we relate to the legal system? Do not twist justice in legal matters by favoring the poor or being partial to the rich and powerful. Do you realize this was written thousands of years ago? Well, how should you talk about other people, especially if you're fussy with them? Do not spread slanderous gossip. Don't fudge the truth to make somebody look worse behind their back. How should you handle conflict in your family? Do not nurse hatred in your heart for any of your relatives. Oh, hear it. Confront people directly. Don't put a passive-aggressive Facebook post up, Don't text a friend about something you're upset about somebody else. Go talk to them directly. How should you respond when people offend you? Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge. Isn't this amazing? If that was all we had in the Bible, boy, would we have a lot to learn. And if you want to just condense it all, what's the summary lesson of what it means to be holy? So he says, be holy. And then how does he define it? He describes the way we relate to God, ourselves, and to each other. And if you want to summarize it all down, you could say it simply like this: treat yourself and others like they're human beings, made in the image of God, worthy of love and dignity and respect. If you believed that the immigrant was made in the image of God, worthy of love and dignity and respect, what would you do? You would set aside some of your business profits to make sure they have enough to eat. If you believed the person who angered you is made in the image of God, you'd speak to them directly rather than spreading gossip. You wouldn't lie, would you? You wouldn't take advantage of people. Do you see what he's doing for us here? Jesus said the greatest commandment is to love God with everything you have. And he said a second is equally as important. Love your neighbor as yourself. Well, what does that mean? He tells us, treat other people the way you would want them to treat you. Being holy means being human. Leviticus is God's plan to restore our humanity, and this means we will relate to ourselves and God and others in ways that will look so unusual to the world around us. So that's what Leviticus is about. The introduction is now over. Leviticus is about restoring our humanity, God's plan for how sinful people can be restored to relationship. So why are we calling this the God of time? Well, we won't understand Leviticus. If you choose to keep coming to this church, especially over the next few weeks, we will ask a lot of you. Philosophically, intellectually, this is going to be very weird. It's going to be challenging for us because we're pressing into the mind of God. It'll be difficult for us to understand Leviticus, especially some of the things that are more, get more airtime, the weird verses that someone's like, well, what about Leviticus where it says this? We'll have a hard time with it if we don't understand how God relates to time and what Leviticus says about time. So Leviticus, this book of restoration, is also a book of preparation given to us by a God who stands outside of time. God does not travel the waters of time as you and I do. He stands outside of it. Time does not apply to God. Here's a trippy way to think about it. God, you might think of him as holding all of eternity, everything that has ever been, in his hands, and it is all one constant now, right now. So from God's perspective, when did the flood happen? Right now. Noah's on the ark right now. When was Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration? Right now. When was Jesus crucified? Right now. When was he risen? Right now. So you can go to the book of Revelation and see that they call Jesus the Lamb who was slain before the foundations of the world. Before anything ever began, the name of Jesus was the Lamb who was slain. God stands outside of time, and he sees it as one ever present now. So from God's perspective, the book of Leviticus is about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, all at the same time. I hope this will make more sense in the weeks to come. It doesn't make sense. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't make sense right now. But Leviticus 23, where we'll spend the rest of the series, God is bringing clarity into how we relate to time. And remember, holiness means being human. So you might think of time. You guys know what a metronome is? It's a music thing that goes click, 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 click. It keeps time for you. Or maybe you've ever been to I'm sorry, I think most of the students are gone. This isn't about you, Keenan. But you've been to a high school battle of the bands where the drummer's playing in a different time than the rest of the band? Does that make any sense at all to anybody? Nope, that one didn't work. You know that a couple of you. But this feeling, imagine a drummer's playing one song and the rest of the band is playing another song. How awkward and tense and anxious that would be. It would be very uncomfortable. Leviticus 23 is setting the metronome for the rhythm of life. This is how we come into rhythm with God's design, where we will be shaped and formed and restored over time. God marks our calendars. Leviticus 23 is all about our calendars. He marks it by celebrations. The rhythm of life, the drumbeat of life is celebrations. Our calendar is built around partying. And in each one of these parties, this is the rest of the sermon series, we party to look back, we party to experience now, and we party to look forward. So in every one of these celebrations that we're going to look at, we'll see how God, outside of time, is calling us to look back, to be rooted in the present, and to look forward. We're formed by rhythms and routines. This is why we do liturgy every week. It's forming us, these same routines, week in and week out. And so the God of time brings clarity to our chaos by showing us the rhythm we are to join. And so here's the rhythm. And this will be like the teaser trailer. I hope you can come back next week. This is the rhythm we'll look at for the next several months. God calls us to celebrate because he is with us. Then he calls us to celebrate to remember why he's with us. He calls us to celebrate to remember he's with us. And then he says, celebrate to remember why I'm with you. This is the rhythm. Celebrate, I'm with you. Remember why I'm with you. I'm with you. Remember why I'm with you. I'm with you. And this is to mark our days, our weeks, our months, our years, and our lives as we prepare for the day when God's promises will be fulfilled. And this rhythm carried out for centuries until Jesus arrived and showed us what we are looking for. Jesus, this one who came holy, who lived lowly, who died excruciatingly, who rose victoriously, all so that he could look to you and say, you are now holy. So the invitation is this. In Christ, we can enter into the rhythms of our humanity. We can reclaim a relationship with time that will no longer distort us and destroy us, but may in fact heal and restore us. In Christ, our holiness is restored, and holiness means being human. If you're willing and able, stand with me and we'll pray together.